read you a whole chapter of the Bible. Here we go. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and so a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab, which is modern-day Jordan, if you know your Middle East geography. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi. The name of the 2 sons was Mahlon and Chilion. And they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah. They went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. She was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they'd lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died. Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. When the 2 daughter-in-law went with her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go back, each of you to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud. And they said to her, We will go back with you to your people. But Naomi said, Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have more sons who will become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I'm too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it's more bitter for me than for you because the Lord's hand is turned against me. At this, they wept aloud again. And then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. But Ruth replied, Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So the 2 women went on until they came to Bethlehem. And when they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. And the women exclaimed, Can this be Naomi? Don't call me Naomi, she said. She told them, Call me Mara, because the Lord Almighty has made my life bitter. I went away full, but the Lord brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. So if this is your first time here, thank you for coming. Thank you for taking a chance with us. Seriously, we're grateful that you would pull up and park your car and come through the doors. We don't take it for granted, so thank you for driving up the driveway. If you weren't here last week we looked at a breakdown in community. So whether you believe in God or not, you know that's not a good thing. A breakdown in community. It was a gross display of selfishness and disregard for life. That was last week. This week, good news, Tom, it's completely different. It's an opposite story. You heard it. Naomi and her husband, 2 boys, they lived during the time of the judges, which wasn't a good time. There was a certain chunk of history for Israel was the judges. And the way they described it was in those days, Israel had no king and everyone did what they thought was wise in their own eyes. It didn't turn out great. So in addition to being in the time of the judges, Naomi and her husband lived during a time of a famine, and out of desperation, you just read this, right? They moved to modern day Jordan, to Moab, and hoped to find some food there. They bought a house, settled in, tragedy struck. Naomi's husband died. 2 boys got married to local girls, more tragedy. Both boys died. Naomi was devastated. You'll probably know this, that in the Middle East, probably still to this day, families lived together. Like the brides were brought into the life and the home of the son's family. They were part of it. So now there's 3 widows. sitting at the kitchen table, wondering what to do next. What do we do here? I have no doubt that Naomi loved these girls. You can see it in the story. She loved them. They had been a seat-up family. Do you know what I mean? Seat-up family. So if all the kids in your family are boys, or if all the kids in your family are girls, you're either a seat-up family or a seat-down family. You know where I'm going with this, Jack? You got this? No, not yet. Okay. Well, so here's the way it works, right? You're either a seat-up family if you're boys, right? Or you're seat-down if you're girls, because if the seat is down and you've got all boys, the next person to sit down, she's got a wet backside. Yes, she does. Yeah. So Colleen and I had 4 boys, so we were definitely a seat-up family, right? No wet backsides. Some of you guys are seat-down families. Where's Mike McDonald? I saw you come to the door. Yes, you are. And dads have to bend to the will of the majority. That's the way it works. We just had boys in our house. They just kept coming. Like if we got a goldfish, you're like, oh, that's a boy too. You know, we got a hamster. It's like, that's the boy too. So Colleen has been really excited and thrilled to have girls be added to our house. Girls that will actually bring a compliment to the meal, or flowers, or charcuterie boards. Girls that actually know how to spell charcuterie, right? There's a whole girl thing that happens now in our house. And girls don't make her play goalie for road hockey and fire pucks at her, or bring bugs and frogs into the house and think it's hilarious. Anyway, Naomi was happy for the female company. And then tragedy struck. It turns out that the story of tragedy became a story of friendship. God brings friendship in future into the lives of 2 people who choose and decide they're going to stay together. Israel had a provision for tragedy. And it was this. It might freak some of you out, but it was actually a good idea. Abby, watch me here. This is pretty crazy stuff. If a married son died, then his wife was to be married to his brother. Think about that, right? And the whole plan was that she would be provided for, and also that the dead brother's name would live on through the first male spouse that came from that second marriage. It's a story of protection and provision. And actually, if you read the book of Ruth, and I hope you will, it's actually the way the whole story bases it. The next relative in line needs to step up and provide for the wife and the dead husband during tragedy. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Naomi made a head of the house decision. And the head of the house decision was to return to Israel. And so they start walking, and they're headed from Moab to Israel, and she begins to think, and she's realizing that this is not in the best interests of these 2 girls. It's best that they go home. So Naomi was willing to go alone for the sake of her friends. Naomi was willing to go alone. That seems a bit odd, right, to say that about friendship, going alone, but it reveals the bedrock of true friendship. She was thinking and acting on the best interests of those others and not her own. So she does everything she can, you read the story, to get Orpah and Ruth to go back to their homes. She's not being secret about it, this, not at all. She's like being straightforward. This is why you need to go home. Go back to your mother's house, she said. Usually you'd say, go back to your father's house, because dads were known, sometimes still are, to be providers and protectors. But moms were, and moms still are, I think, bosses of all things love, marriage, and sex, right? So go back to your mother's home was a way of her saying, go back and your mom will help you get married again. They were matchmakers. No doubt Naomi had worked with each of their moms and in the marriage of her boys to these 2. And she was saying, go back to your mom because she can help you. I can't. She says as much, right? When she says, even if I had a husband tonight and I conceived tonight and I had twins, right? Would you wait around for 18 years while they turned into men? I don't think so. Go back to your moms. They can help you have another shot at marriage. So watch the way Naomi does this. She doesn't manipulate. I love the way she rolls. She doesn't mope. She doesn't moan. She doesn't make it all about her. How are you guys going to provide for me? She's actually the stuff of true friendship. She's going to take care of herself, and she's going to return to Israel, and she's going to go alone because that would be best for the girls. That's the way friendship works. Real friendship is always about the other person. It's not about manipulating people to get what you want. It even begins, real friendship begins this way. We were talking about this as a staff team on Tuesday, and Kristen, one of our employees, she recited something that she heard from her mom, and it was this: I went looking for a friend, but no one could be found. I went out to be a friend, and friends were all around, right? So this isn't about you waiting for the phone to ring. Naomi would also have known that while she was going home, she was going to home turf. The girls were not, and the girls would be there, and they would arrive there and would always be foreigners there. And that was a potential situation for harm. And Boaz, if you read the story, Boaz, the man that features prominently in the story, Boaz says as much when he speaks to Ruth. Ruth is working in his fields, and he says to her, you stay with my servant girls, you be safe there. And I've told all the men that work for me not to touch you. So clearly harm was a possibility. And Naomi wanted to make sure that Ruth was spared any harm. So picture of friendship, picture of Naomi laying her life down. Love it. If you want people to do for you, you won't have very many friends. You will always feel alone. They'll never do enough because it's still about you. So this is now an old movie. Did anybody see the movie Jerry Maguire? Okay, you got to be old. Abby, you're going to say no because that was before my time, man. It was 1996 when this came out. So it was Jerry Maguire? Yeah, okay, four of you. The Jerry Maguire is this, the epic scene in Jerry Maguire is when Tom Cruise, super handsome, is trying to win back his wife, Renee Zellweger, and it's a room full of women, and they're all swooning because it's Tom Cruise. I'll try to do my best Tom Cruise, but I don't have much. But he says, in addition to I love you, he says, you complete me. And she buys it. I can't believe it. What a lame line. She actually has the next classic line in the movie, which is, you had me at hello. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but you complete me. Who is this about? It's still about me. It's about me, Tom Cruise. Yes, you complete me. Right? If you married somebody so that the other person will complete you, this is newsflash, you will be disappointed. They will never get that job done. He just won't be able to pull that off. If you get married because your life is settled and you're content and you find yourself able to and ready to lay your life down for another to flourish, now you're on the right track. Now you're thinking about marriage in the right way. Do you realize what that then does to the great excuse that people now for breaking up, which is, I'm not happy anymore. Oh, you got married for the wrong reason. You weren't getting married to get happy. That's a bust. And no mystery to this. This is also the way that parenting works, right, friends? If you have kids for you, so it can fulfill you, so you can fit into your friend group, so you have something to complain about or brag about, your kids will live miserable lives. Anyway, this is about friendship. Not everybody gets married. Not everybody have kids. Everyone needs friends. But while we're here, can I give you a little bit of old man advice? Old man advice, those of you who are thinking about being married. Abby, Royal, others. I know, it's a couple of weeks away. Tom, Zach, but here it is. If you're thinking about potential marriage partners, Kat, this is also for you. Potential marriage, I know it feels like a long ways away. Start with friendship. Start with friendship. If that goes deeper, then consider romance. Do not do what our culture does, which is, what is it? Walk into the room, right? Colin, back me up here, and look for the cutest girl or the handsomest guy, right? And then get a romance going, somebody who's sexually attractive, start the romance, and then see if you can squeeze a friendship out of it. No, don't do that. Start with the most important thing first, friendship. Okay, old man advice aside, back to the story. Naomi does what adults do in the story, which is she looks out for the other people, not her own happiness. Now, Orpah, she's not a dum-dum. She sees the wisdom in what Naomi is saying. There are no husband prospects on the horizon. And as much as Naomi means to her, living as a widow for the rest of her life is not the plan that Orpah had, right? She wants the predictability of a husband. She wants to have her own family. She's going to take a pass on the adventure in Israel. She's going home to mom. Ruth is different. Naomi laid down her life for Ruth, and Ruth responds in kind. And that's true friendship. And I think there's more here than just friendship. See, Ruth's been watching Naomi. There's something different about her. I think it's her God. It comes out in Ruth's vow to her. Your God will be my God. May Yahweh, that's the covenant name for God, may Yahweh deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything, including death, separates you from me, right? If I fail to keep my promise. She's watched Naomi, and there's substance to her life. She's watched Naomi as a widow, and Naomi isn't like, well, if God takes my husband, then I'm out of here. Didn't do that at all. On the contrary, in the middle of tragedy, Naomi seems to move closer to God, believes more. She doesn't like it. She's honest about it. She was, call me Mara. She's not happy at all about it, but she's not packed it in on the living God. And Ruth is attracted to that. That's interesting about that blessed thing. Is watch what God does. People be attracted to your life. It's actually more attractive to her than having a new husband. So as she watched Orpah walk away, Ruth does the opposite. She walks towards. Put it another way, she burned the ships. You know what that means, burn the ships? You do. So I'm going to try to explain to you the rest of the room, because you already know. 1519, a guy named Hernan Cortez, a Spanish explorer, leads an expedition that lands in Mexico, and he wants Aztec gold, and he knows it's going to be tough. In fact, they're very long, and the sailors are already talking about, we're going home. We want to go back to Spain. And so you know what Cortez does? I gave you the punchline. Burns the ships. You ain't going home. We're staying. We're going to get that gold. Burn the ships. In fact, I think historically they show he didn't actually burn the ships. They repurposed the boards and all the materials on the ships to tackle the task at hand. But it sounds way sexier to say they burned the ships. But they did it. But they did. That's the point. There's no going back. And Ruth did this to herself. Do not urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything, including death, separates you from me. Woof. That's a vow of friendship, wouldn't you say? That's pretty serious stuff. I like where your life is going. I want to join my life to yours. And I want God in the middle of my life just like it is in yours. See, this is why we offer small groups to you. And this is why we beg you to join. Because you need this kind of friendship. Because you need to be in regular contact with other people. It's not usually sexy every week. It's not usually epic every week. It's steady. Friendship is about steadiness, not sexiness. You need people in your life regularly. You need to listen. And you need to be listened to. And you might actually wind up in a group of people that you wouldn't choose for yourself. Anybody ever had that happen in a small group? Okay, nobody's going to admit to that. But they're the person that God wants in your life right now. And you should know that no human friendship, no small group will ever be perfect. It won't be all that you need. Not even the best marriage is perfect. My wife is by far and away my best friend. Not even close. I don't know who the distant second would be, which is absolutely fantastic and slightly at times depressing because we can fight over Halloween candy, which may or may not have happened this past week. We both know that one of us is going to stand in a cemetery one day and lower the other one into a hole in the ground. The day is coming when I won't be able to have and to hold her from this day forward. The day is coming when she won't be able to smack me upside the head just exactly when I need it. And the only reason I can breathe thinking about that prospect is that I know that her best friend isn't actually me, but it's the one who really did lay his life down for her. The one who thought about what would be very best for her, the one who was willing to go all alone in order to see her flourish. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates me from you. I'm going to tell you this. Some of you are considering baptism. Hear this, please, if you're thinking about it. This is what it means to be a Christian. Total, Seth, you prayed this. Total and absolute surrender to Jesus Christ. What it means to be a Christian is to burn the ships. There's no turning back. Jesus is not an accessory to your life like a scarf is to your outfit. He becomes your best friend, and everything to you, even more than anyone else on the planet, family or friend. And the reason why you'd ever do this, it sounds like madness. Why would you ever be baptized? Why would you ever give your life away like that? The reason why you'd ever believe this is because what Ruth said to Naomi is what Jesus says to you. I don't think Ruth completely understood all of what she was saying, but Jesus certainly understands what he was saying. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you from me. See, he did lay his life down. His blood was shed. It was the greatest act of friendship ever on planet Earth. Jesus said so himself. Once he said these words, greater love is no one than this, than he laid down his life for his friends. And he did this, my friends, so that you, in the hope that you would enter a friendship with him and be with him for eternity. I'm finished like this. It's a little weird. Some of you are holding God off. Some of you think you're doing okay, but you're really pushing God away. And you can't figure out why your heart still feels empty, or why your marriage isn't quite completing you, or why your friends seem to always come up short, or maybe even why some people continue to annoy you. It's this missing piece, this Jesus in your life. Jesus becomes your life. It's time for you to say yes to him. Like Naomi had to do with Ruth. Give in. Give up trying to push him away. Welcome him in. Okay, let's do this together. Give up trying to go alone. Say yes to the friend who sticks closer than a brother. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you for this. It's wild to us. The God of all glory, the one who creates galaxies, and watch this whole thing just sort of continue to boom, boom into the universe, and planets and stars and all of these things going on around. And then you well, come to earth as a human being and have friends, and then lay your life down for your friends. So it's a little mind-blowing. We can comprehend maybe an infinite and awesome, omnipotent God, and we can understand friends. We just never imagined the two would become the same. But here we are, Jesus, believing that you're the one who loves us more than anyone ever could, believing that your heart is for us, and believing that you're in pursuit of us. Lord, where there's resistance to you, I pray that the door would open this day, that the door of friendship would open. You would come in and make things right. In your strong name, I pray. Amen.